Hi witches! So today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about witchcraft and minimalism, which is a topic that I haven't covered before, and there's not a whole lot of information about it on YouTube, so I thought it was worth talking about. So the idea of minimalism is that it's a philosophy or idea of only owning the items in your life that add value to your life or that spark joy. So it doesn't mean giving away all of your things, but it does promote an intentional purchasing mindset. So the idea of carefully considering things before you buy them to decide if they will be useful or assist you in your life. So it very much prioritizes experiences over things, and I think that this is a philosophy or mindset which actually can tie into witchcraft very easily and can be really beneficial. So minimalism is a bit of a reaction to consumerism, and there are thousands if not millions of videos on YouTube which discuss the idea of minimalism, but I'm not going to rehash what's already out there. I want to talk about it from the perspective of witchcraft today. But if you really have no idea what minimalism is, you can put minimalism into YouTube and find thousands of videos. However, a really good starting resource is the documentary called Minimalism, which is on Netflix, and it's created by two guys called Ryan and Joshua, who are known as the Minimalists, and they are extremely influential. They are how I originally found minimalism, and they have a lot of really great ideas and things like that. But talking about witchcraft, so this month, I found myself being drawn back to minimalism, particularly in my practice. And what you might not know about me is that about 8 years ago, I discovered minimalism. And so I started decluttering my huge collection of skincare and cosmetics and clothing. I had way too much stuff. And minimalism was then a big part of my identity for many, many years. Really until I reached the point until I kind of reduced down everything that I could, and then it was just about living my life intentionally. But of course then life gets in the way, so I moved into stable accommodation, I finished uni, I got my first post-uni job which was paying me a lot more money than I was used to, and then suddenly I found it really difficult to justify not buying things. And then that's when the clutter started to pile up. So the idea of this came up in my recent chat with Louisa Hearth Witch. If you haven't seen the video that I did with her, I'll link it down below. But basically we talked about consumerism in witchcraft and social media, and the idea of being an influencer. And so I realized that I should probably do a video on this to talk about sort of my philosophy behind videos, because I have had some people ask me to kind of do more of what I've already done, and this is kind of my explanation of why I haven't done certain things. So for example, my must-have crystals for witches video, I only list 10 crystals on there, and I've picked those because they are versatile and because of their availability. And people are always like, oh, what are 10 more than I need? And the idea behind minimalism is, no, that's just what you need. You don't need more stuff. And so yeah, I can tell you 10 other crystals that you should go out and buy, but whether you actually need them in your practice or not is a different story. And so that's why I picked those 10, which I felt like are really the core. If I was only able to pick 10 crystals in my entire collection to work with, those would be the most versatile. Having said that, I work with a lot more than just those crystals, but in terms of a recommending to other people's standpoint, that's what I would do, because at some point part of it comes down to, what do you need? So like me personally, I work a lot with charoite. I have an ancestral connection to it. I have a personal connection to it. That works well for me, but I don't need to tell that to somebody else, because their crystal that they really connect with might be something totally different. And another one is like my beginner witchcraft tools video. I chose those tools and that specific number because those are the basics. That is what you need. And even then you could probably argue you don't really need those. And so, yeah, when I'm recommending things, it's very much about like from a minimalism standpoint, if that makes sense. And honestly, a lot of it also comes down to the fact that witchcraft shouldn't be an expensive endeavor. It shouldn't be an expensive hobby where you need to have all of the things. And it's not. I can say that because when I first started practicing, I did not have all of the things. I very much did a lot of energy work, and I had a small handful of crystals, and I worked with candles, but that was it. I didn't have the things that a lot of beginner books recommend. Doesn't mean I didn't want them, but I was able to practice without them. So things like a chalice and an athame and an altar cloth, and all of those other things. I still don't own a chalice. I still don't own an athame. I own altar cloths, but they are unnecessary. They're just an extra thing that looks nice, but you don't need them in your practice. Even though a lot of these books, they tell you you need all of these things and you need to set them up in a certain way on your altar. And if you're not doing this, you're not a witch, which is absolute crap. So yeah, the truth is you do not need lots of tools. Instead, I would suggest that you choose really versatile items. So if you like burning lots of incense sticks or combs, then maybe you can buy more of those. You might want to keep like a bit of a stash so that you're not always having to go to the shops. That's fine. But on the other hand, then, if you've got, say, a favorite incense that you really like, should you go out and buy a wholesale box with 12 packets in there? No. You know, you might want to get, say, 2 boxes or 3 boxes if it's something you use all the time. But I feel like there's this temptation out there of, oh, I have to buy all of the things and I have to buy so many of my favorite things because what if I'll never be able to get them again? And the truth is, in the age of the internet, you can always find these things that you need. And so you don't want to be stockpiling tools and consumables and things like that, because even things like herbs, they have an expiration date. They do not last forever. I see so many people with these amazing apothecary cabinets, but unless you're using those herbs every day and actually rotating through them, they're going to go stale. They're going to lose their color. They're going to lose their energy. And then when you do go to use them, you're going to go, oh, I don't feel like using this because it's lost that energy, it's lost that potency, and it's not going to work. And so I regularly go through my herbs and incenses and things like that to see what still has energy, what is getting close to losing it, I need to use it quickly, or, you know, what's still fresh, what could I still use, what's still powerful. The other thing is to think outside the box. So you don't need to buy something that's labeled as a chalice or buy it from a witchcraft supply shop. You can actually repurpose things that are already in your house or things that you can purchase for really cheap. So thrift shops or secondhand shops or op shops, whatever you call them, they are amazing. I have found so many things through there. So they're fantastic for finding like dishes that you want to place candles on. I have found like bowls and like cauldrons to burn things in. There's all sorts of fancy cups to use as like a chalice. And I've even heard of people using letter openers as athames. So for example, I found this in a thrift shop. There were actually 2 of them for $4. Yes, they are not most perfect silverware, but you can use this as a cauldron. The other one actually has a decorative lid that goes on the top of it, which is very similar to a cauldron. I actually use this to make my own candle. So yeah, thrift shops are amazing, and I really suggest that you check those out if you are looking for tools, because they are a really inexpensive way of building your collection of tools that you need. So let's say you decide, actually, I don't want to use a chalice, I have no use for it. Don't buy one. That's completely fine. The other thing is I'm really big on having functional decor. So there are so many things that I see around, like statues and like posters and like artworks and like tapestries and things like that, which are very beautiful. If that makes you happy, absolutely buy them, decorate your space in them. Obviously I have some decor, but part of that is also functional. So like I have butterflies because I have a spiritual connection to butterflies. I work with their energy. So to me, they are not just a decorative piece. Likewise with this tarot card, I work with the temperance card on an energetic level. So to me, it's not just a piece of beautiful artwork, it's something that I actually work with. But in terms of functional decor, of course, me being obsessed with crystals, I have a lot of crystals around, and I use all of those crystals that I have around too. And I also think that there's so many different ways that you can decorate your space, make it feel witchy without having to actually clutter it. So for example, plants are an amazing way to decorate your space and make it feel more magical. And they're also something that you can then work with on an energetic level. I've talked about how I have plants which live on my computer desk altar. I love gardening. I have plants growing in my garden, and so that's a way that you can bring that in and decorate your space as well. The other benefit of decorating with plants is you can actually collect things from outside, and then when you feel like they've lost their energy, you can then put them into the compost, and so then you're not creating waste. So that's also something that's important to my practice, the idea of not creating lots of waste. And so that's a way to work with that and not creating, say, plastic waste. Like I find that a lot of the decor kind of items that are around, which might be witchy, they're not necessarily something which you can recycle. They're often things that are made of plastic or that kind of acrylic resin, which is a form of plastic still. Even if it doesn't feel like plastic, it's still plastic. You can also use cards as images or representations of deity instead of buying statues. So some believe that you can even use cards to represent crystals or herbs. And so an example of that is I have a crystal deck, and so if I wanted to work with, say, the energy of amber, and amber is a stone that I don't actually own any of, I could incorporate this into, say, a grid, like say a crystal grid, but using cards instead, or adding some botanicals to that as well. So that's one way you can use, like, say, crystal cards. Likewise, like, let's say Herkimer diamond is another one I don't own. I might put this on my altar to represent the energy of Herkimer diamond. It's something I can still physically see, especially because this is a photo of it. So it's still that energy that I can try and tap into and lend to my workings. Likewise is, let's say I wanted to do a working for calm, and I know that flannel flower is good for bringing in calming energies. I might use a lot of other things which also bring in calming energies, and then add this into, say, a spot on my altar, or add this into a grid of some kind, or even meditate with the card for a while. So you can definitely use cards as representations as well if you don't have those things physically with you. Paper symbols and sigils are also another really good way of incorporating minimalism into your practice, because of course paper is something that all of us have, and it's something that doesn't take up a lot of space, and that when you're done with it as well, you could actually burn it to release that intention out into the world. You could add it into a charm bag. You might want to instead incorporate it by actually carving those sigils or symbols onto a candle and then burning down the candle. So there's lots of different ways that you can incorporate symbols into your practice, which doesn't require you to own something like a crystal or a herb or something like that. And also, if you don't desire to have a huge library, or you lack the physical space to have a huge library like a lot of people do, then ebooks are a really good alternative. I know that a lot of people say it's not the same, and I do totally get that, but they are a really good alternative, and most books now are available on ebook format. They're often cheaper, and so that's a really good way to keep reading about witchcraft without having to bring any physical clutter and things into your house. Otherwise, alternatively, you can buy books, and just when you're done with them, if you know that you're not going to refer to them, that you either pass them on to friends or sell them or give them away or something like that. As I've said before, I'm also a huge fan of Scribd for audiobooks as well as ebooks, but you can even use things like Amazon Kindle Unlimited and things like that. Spotify and YouTube are also great for music. I don't think anyone has a CD player anymore, but I know that, like, when I first got into witchcraft, those new age CDs were all the rage. Everyone had at least 2 or 3 of them. My mum has tons of them. But yeah, now you can get so much like witchcraft kind of music on Spotify and YouTube. You can look up, like, say, singing bowls and other ritual music, and so much stuff will come up. So that's another thing that you can do. And lastly, I also want to talk about the idea of digital witchcraft, which a couple of other people have mentioned, and I'm going to leave some links down in the description below for some other related videos on this topic. So one of them does actually discuss the idea of incorporating digital witchcraft, and I think I mentioned that video before in my online witchcraft protection magic video, which I'll link up there. And so the idea of digital witchcraft is that you can make, say, an online book of shadows so that you don't need a paper book of shadows. And so you can do that through having like an online journal, an online blog, a website, a Google Doc, just like a Word doc or on your computer, whatever you prefer. There are even tarot and oracle apps which you can install on your phone if you don't want to have a physical deck, and these are also really great options if you frequently travel. So a friend of mine frequently travels, and they use a tarot app that they purchased for the Shadowscapes Tarot, but I know that Rockpool Publishing also has a free one with a whole lot of different oracle decks that you can use on there. So there's a whole lot of different options available around that as well. A lot of creators now are bringing tarot and oracle decks to the app format as well. So I'll link to some other videos in the description on incorporating witchcraft or paganism and minimalism, but it's a topic that I think that we all should consider, particularly given the environmental impact of stuff. So when you see any of my videos, like favorites videos or things where I'm suggesting that you buy something, please don't take it as I'm telling you to go out and buy it. They're merely suggestions, and you need to think about what works for you. But also, I think that DIY can be a really big part of witchcraft, and so if I'm showing something, it doesn't necessarily mean, hey, you should go and buy it from this specific shop. It means, hey, maybe if this is of interest to you, you can look up how to create your own version of it. So like when I shared some of the things that my friend gave me and made for me, obviously you can't purchase those, but maybe it can inspire you to then create your own, or find an artist who can create those things for you. Yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Is minimalism something that you have considered or practice? Do you see it aligning into your practice, or are you someone that just likes to have all of the things? I'm really interested to know. But thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.